Great. Wow, that's good. You know what? I'm just going to put our prude faces on here. Is it racist to do an American accent? Thank God.
Depends on which one.
Was that one racist?
I don't think so.
It's funny. Hi, welcome to Art of Rock. We're talking about American accents. I can't use... If I use Siri, I have to do an American accent, or it just goes, what? Doesn't understand. And when I do a really bad American accent, it goes, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying right now. Welcome to Art of Rock. This is every Saturday here, and jump on here. Join us in Twitch, and if you want the link to the Zoom, just ask, and I'll gladly provide. My mic is on. Yes, it is. We're here every Saturday, and it's kind of like therapy help for musicians and artists, and we just talk about stuff. This is made by Angelspit's Patreon. There it is. If you want to join that, it would do me so much favors, and here's Ivan, because it keeps me going and all that. I've just done a new single with Queen of the Static Opera, and it is called Breathing But Not Alive. Get it on Bandcamp. It's right there. We're going under the name Venus of Gorgon, which is beautiful and ugly. Not saying that about the members, but I'm saying it's the whole hideous and perfect thing that Carl's always going on about. I just pushed something and I don't know what the fuck it was. Yeah, so keep an eye on that, Venus of Gorgon. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff because Melanie is a very talented creature from Queen of the Static Opera. The Ziggurat is a new single from Ice Planet 9000 and it's on Spotify. Go listen to it. Go listen to it right now, and if you don't, I'm going to do something terrible. Here's a whole bunch of other music on Spotify that you need to know about, including the bands that are here, and keep pushing that. And after this, we're going to zoom on over, right on over to MTV TV. They're on Twitch. It's amazing. Click on that damn link. Follow that damn link. And just have it playing in the background, man. You're going to find so much amazing music. I do all the time. If you've got a video, send it to them because they will play it because they're bloody awesome human beings. And that's their Patreon. And if you got a couple of bucks, throw it at them once a month because we got to keep them going. Welcome one, welcome all. I want to talk about gear acquisition syndrome. I want to talk about why we do it. Mark, you just bought a what?
I said I almost bought a Korg SQ64 last night because I saw that they went on sale for a quite low price.
How much is that low price?
I think they're normally like $350. They're down to like $199.
Wow. See, what I just said was not helping gear acquisition syndrome at all. Oh, really? Really, do they?
I intentionally left out the price. I didn't necessarily want to advertise that. For anyone who might have been on the fence.
I won't say that. I've heard it's a really, really good device too.
No, see, actually, I heard the opposite.
Really?
I heard a lot of people saying they had a lot of trouble with it, but like some people also said, hey, I really liked it. But what actually got me to say, nah, whatever, was it's really more for a modular crowd, and I don't have any modular gear.
Right.
So I'm not going to get too much more out of it than just hooking it up to a DAW. And, like, I kind of wanted it for DAWless jams, but I don't really have anywhere else to put all my gear to do a DAWless jam. So I don't think I really get a lot out of it.
Okay.
And really, it's just time for you to get into modular.
Thank you, Ivan. And that is really helping today's conversation of gear acquisition syndrome. What I want to know is how do you... Like when you're looking at gear, why it's this really weird thing inside you that goes, I need more gear. You start researching something, then you're researching something, then you find something, and you keep reading about that thing, and then you buy it. That's the spiral, money or not. Oh, Alex, hold on, just let me finish my rant. My question is how do you stop, and how do you because like it's just this non-stop problem. And even when you look at Keyboard Magazine in the 80s, they used to call it a gear horn, but they're not allowed to call it that anymore. You know, it's always been this constant problem that people like new toys. That's why people need the new Ryobi sander or the cordless Makita drill, whatever. Alex, give me wisdom now. And hello, Chris, by the way.
So, my cure to gas is not having enough money to buy the things I want to buy. Because then you need to make the tough decisions what you really need. Like, I think I would benefit from another polysynth, but I don't have the money. I wish I had some more modules, because for my modular I made some unwise decisions, because I like all my modules but they don't gel well together. So, but I think that's on the back burner, because I think it's not so important for myself. And the strategy I developed is to use hardware to sequence and to control software, then sample said software, and have like the sound palette from the software, which is relatively inexpensive, and you can get great stuff for cheap and free. And yeah, then use that for your for like the extra sparkle. I think that's a good compromise. And yeah, I think it's also good to like, you don't need the most expensive synthesizer in the world, but to get not the cheapest thing either. But also, it's good to try to have a bit of money, and then to have like a long-term goal, and maybe have like a budget that like, and then sort of snipe used stuff, but like have it like a roadmap. I don't know. I'm starting to ramble.
No, that's a good ramble. That's totally true. Ivan.
Okay. I've got a lot of
Thank you,
thoughts
Alex. Ivan, go.
I've got a lot of thoughts on gear acquisition syndrome. One, okay, this is all a me thing. One, as it turns out, you can't have too many cables. You just can't. You can't. It's more cables. The answer is just yes. But like, when I'm buying gear, particularly these days, the first question upon looking at it is, what does it do that I can't currently do at all? If it's doing stuff that I'm already able to do, then the next question is, would this improve my workflow? The answer is probably no. So dead in the water right there. I'm just like I got no reason to get it now. Because I've run out of things that I need mostly, and like I dislike the idea of having essentially money sitting on the shelf that's not doing me any good. Because like, if I can keep that in my bank account, it's there for something more emergency like. And I grew up dirt poor enough that I know what it's like to run into an emergency and just be kind of hosed by lack of resources. So I like to always keep lots of resources available. At the same time, like during pandemic, I got into modular, and there's nothing quite as gas inducing as modular, because there's so many little pieces and they do so many cool things, and at which point you really do end up like, do I need another oscillator? Because guess what, it's gonna make a sine wave like all the other oscillators I've got. Ooh, maybe I can get a better saw. No, maybe probably not. Filters are a different story, because you spend big money on good filters, and yeah, and
I have
weirdly,
two amazingly cheap filters for you, and they are possibly the best filters you can buy. Go on.
Oh, I've got the Dope for Wasp, and I love it.
I was going to say the Wasp. What about, do you have the 106? Oh, the 102 diode filter.
I've got the yellow one.
Hold on. Razzie, shut up.
You're enablers.
Shut up.
You're enablers.
Shut up.
I've got the yellow one, and I've got a stack of those chips on it that like to fail after a while. So then I've got replacement parts.
What? You've got what, and they fail?
Yeah, one of the onboard chips will.
Hold on. What filter?
The Wasp, the Dope for Wasp.
My Wasp has never died.
Oh, it won't die. It will start to get kind of stuck in where it sounds.
Really?
Also, I did kill one. I killed the crap out of it.
I killed a wasp too. But get the
Yeah,
diode, because the diode is cheap and it's fucking everything you need, and the wasp got a high pass and da-da-da-da. There are 2 filters. Boom. You can get both of them for like 200 and something bucks. Both of them. Both of them. And they sound as good as way more expensive filters. So...
Yeah, and then I've got some like really cheap filters that I bought off of Amazon. The lasers. Like they were like $90. Oh no, the filter. I think the filters were like $80. And they get the job done, but they sound cheap. And but at the same time, I've spent way too much money with I'd have to go look at my rack to remember their name. I've got a mixer that has gate, so that I can actually shut the signal off completely, and only open it up when it needs to actually be opened. And that was a very expensive piece of gear, but hopefully it makes my rack work. Again, like other things I've learned about gear acquisition syndrome is don't build a Euro rack case for the modules you have. Build the case for the modules you're going to have, because it will fill up too quickly. Also, you're really not fully into gear acquisition syndrome until you're doing house renovations to build a new studio.
Okay.
Everything's pretty acceptable until you're spending $400 per square foot for the bathroom for the new studio. And buying anything with the name Green Glue on it, because that stuff is crazily expensive.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. I feel like we're going to need a hug after this, and thank you, Ivan. Vince, go. Did my hand just go down? I'm after you, Alex. I have a lot to say about this. Alex, you muted.
I thought Vince was first.
Yeah, I mean, Vince was muted. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Vince, the floor is yours, and you're muted.
Oh, now I'm not. Am I good?
You are.
Okay, just double checking. What I was gonna say is very similar to what Ivan was saying. You gotta look at whether or not you need the thing before you buy it. And it may come down to a number of factors. Does it improve workflow? Does it do a thing nothing else I have does? Unfortunately for me, I find it very easy to find things that do things I have don't, because every guitar sounds different. So if I don't have I'm never gonna have enough guitars, because they all make a different noise, really, when you get right down to it. At least by just a little bit. But you gotta prioritize your purchases. Also, it helps if you obsessively shop to get it in the best shape at the lowest price you possibly can, because it's probably going to take you a while to find it, and that'll keep you from spending the money on it in the meantime. I don't know. Those are the ways I control myself, so I don't buy so much gear. And I've still got wall full of things behind me and more on the floor. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not much of a help for the gear acquisition syndrome.
No, and after talking to you, I now have 10 distortion pedals, Vince.
They're all different.
They are.
Even if you buy 3 from the same brand, those 3 will be different.
Yeah.
If they're the same pedal, because
and they're also very colorful.
Yep, that too. It's like having Skittles across the floor in front of you.
It is. It's like Skittles. Vince, shut up now. Shut up. Alex, this is pointless.
Well, I think what helped me a lot is to just try them out in the store. Like, if you have a store that has synthesizers in your area, or maybe some way where you can go to a day trip or so. I think that really helps to figure out what works for you and what not. I even brought like the manuals on my cell phone and just went through, made a beat. Of course, you have to often ask the people working there kindly whether they plug it in and so. But usually that was like the best way to find out if this gear works for me. And if you have friends in your area who also do electronic music, maybe you can lend something. I unfortunately do not, but I've heard that's a good way to figure it out.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I only regret one purchase, to be honest.
Which was that?
It's the Dave Smith Instruments Mofo. I don't know if my unit's just weird or I don't like the sound of it in general, but sort of I don't... It sounds good if I just make a basic patch, but I can't come up with any creative patch on it. It just doesn't feel right for me. I think I should sell it, but I need to do that again.
Okay. Here's my thoughts. I'm going to rant. 1, get a big box. And if you got modular synths, pull out all the modular synths that you don't use. You'll be amazed at how many you don't use. Wrap them up in bubble wrap. Stick them in the box. Put a big bow on the box. Stick it under something special. And open that box on November, whenever Thanksgiving is. Or late, the 1st of December. Open the box. And it's your early Christmas present to yourself. What you're going to do is when you open that box and go through it, you're going to go, oh, awesome, I forgot about this. Oh, yay. You're trying to rekindle and make a list of everything that's in the box and now go research it. So instead of researching that new piece of gear, you want research the thing that you just put in the box. You might have a piece of crap like a Casio CZ101 and research that thing and suddenly you find out, oh, everybody wants a 101. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait until my unboxing day. Here's the thing though. On the 1st of December, maybe the 10th of December, maybe the 15th of December, if you open the box and you don't like it, because it's out of your rig, take a photo of it and post it on Reverb. So you can sell it for Reverb for the Christmas Day rush. I'm really lucky that I have absolutely no room in my rig. None. I actually purposefully, because it's such a problem for me, I on purpose went through and built multiples and passive attenuators, which I use to block up all of the space. All the space. Block it up. And I use them because if there's blank space in my modular, I'm going to fill it because I'm a weak man. That's the first thing. Second thing is money from certain Reverb Bandcamp projects come into a different account. And when there's money in that account, that's my spend it on synthesizers money. Everything else goes into this other account which you don't touch. So not a lot of money goes in there, so I'm not really in a position to be buying stuff. And if I sell gear, it actually goes into living, not buying more gear. And that's kind of making me work harder, you know. I will look at my music and I will go, really at the end of the day, in the process of making music or the listening of the music, does anybody actually care that I got that new filter, that I did da-da-da-da-da, that I blah, 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 blah? Can anybody really tell the difference between this distortion pedal and this distortion pedal, really? Is it really, and I said that for you, Mark, is it really making my music better and making my approach to music better? Like, come on, really? For me, at least. And that's where, and I brought this whole subject up because I find myself going on, sites looking for crap gear. And if I'm acquiring gear that is really good gear, for example, Voyager or, fucking Rev 2, I saved a long time for those incredibly solid pieces of gear, or Emaxes, really solid. I don't need polysynths anymore. It's when that cheap shit comes up. That's what I get concerned about, because that's what I know. Why do I get the feeling some of you guys are currently looking at reverb or something? Oh yeah. Maybe we should start swapping gear. Like, I've got a piece of gear, it's worth $100. I'm gonna send it to you. I've got a gear piece of work, $100. I'm gonna send it to you. I don't know. If it is, like, if I really need it, like I go, oh, I need a new sequencer, because, you know, Mark, you were talking about that sequencer, and I go, oh, I need a new sequencer. Somebody gave me a Behringer as a joke. I don't use it. It's a great sequencer, but I just don't use it. The Dopefer sequencer is possibly the best sequencer ever fucking made. It is so good. I use the shit out of it. I also got a tip-top random matrix sequencer stuff. And I hardly use that thing. Like, I use it for controllers and shit like that. So my first thing is, I don't need it. Plus, I have the beat step. Whatever the fuck that thing is. I don't utilize that thing. I actually only found out yesterday that I can use it for a MIDI to CV converter. I only figured that out. Oh, I know. I didn't know that. I thought you just set the thing up and use it. I didn't know that, because I didn't read the manual. So all this stuff that I'm not using. Okay, as far as distortion pedals go, with the Blaster Beam, I use them all. But I don't need a new one. People say get a Plasma. It's $300. I don't have $300. I'll get a DS1 because they're awesome. I have 2 DS1s. They're both awesome. I guess that I work really hard to go, yes, there are things that I need. Like, I need a really, really good reverb. But I only figured out the other week, and this is where you can tell me to fuck off, is that I've got a Voice Racks fucking vocal processor, which has got TC Helicon, one of the best fucking reverbs you can get. I don't use it for synthesizers. Why? Because I'm an idiot. So I'm starting to use that thing now, and it's a game changer. I guess constantly, like the K2000 has got one of these much sought after reverb units in it, effects units in it, and you can externally access the K2000's effects. And they say, it's a bit noisy, but it's bloody awesome. And there's all this MIDI controllers and stuff you can do specifically for the effects unit alone. Do I use it? No. I used to use it, and it was great. But it's this sort of thing where I sort of go, you know what? My career doesn't justify me getting more gear. Every single thing doesn't justify me getting more gear. I don't have the space. I don't have the money. So, and it came up before that. I think it's really important to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to save up for this thing, this very important piece of gear. Boom, and that happens like once every 2 years or something. So, yeah, and also it's the other thing about gas is like scrolling, looking at gear. Shit doesn't help you sleep, mate, and it just makes you wanna. I don't know. I feel dirty. It's funny, like gas. Like when I'm looking at gear, I feel dirty for some reason. I don't know why it is. Like when I talk to somebody about creating music and crafting music, I feel positive and inspired. But with, gear and I should get that piece of gear, it's like, I feel horrible. I just don't feel right. There you go. I'm shutting up now. Ivan, go.
Yeah, let's keep in mind that like gear acquisition syndrome is largely fed by the algorithm. The algorithm knows that we're going to be prone to possibly being the kinds of people that are going to spend too much money on gear. And it's going to do everything in its power to help us get there for some reason. Running out of space has probably been one of the healthiest things that ever happened to me. I've got 80 square feet in here, and I'm overflowing. I have no place to put anything anymore. And so now I have to be way more picky. Like anything that I'm buying is going to have to be this big, because I can fit something this big on a shelf. It better do something I absolutely can't do. and the Polyvox filter is on the way. So on Tuesday I get a new filter, but it's just a filter. You know, it does do a thing that I want badly to be able to do, which is throw a filter on, you know, anything and have it just be cool.
That's the Harvestman Vostok filter?
Yes.
Great
it's got
filter.
two modes.
I used to have one.
Like, well, this is a new one from Polyvox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just filtered in an external box. Freaking awesome. You know, but like, and it was the algorithm that showed that to me, and I spent a couple of hours thinking really hard about, well, do I need it? And then, you know, I looked at my bases, and my bases were like, dude, you need this. And I was like, okay, guys, because, you know, you're right. And the bases were like, rock on, dude, let's go do some filtering. And, you know, I'm happy. But like, it's the first bit of gear that I've bought in ages because I'm out of space. And, you know, all of my effort right now is going into making more space so that I have room to buy more gear. But even then, like my attitudes towards it have been shifted significantly. You know, and so like when I get up to third floor and I've got my 1,100 square foot studio, like there's like three things. Like I need a good weighted like piano action 88 key because I like doing piano. I don't like the idea of having to either haul my like 125-year-old piano up to the third floor. That sounds like the makings of a disaster movie, or or I have no choice. I have to get a good weighted action 88 key keyboard, and you know, I'm obviously a Roland guy. Pretty well understood that if it says Roland on it, I either want it or have it. Me and Mark understand each other on this one. And then, the band we're going to start doing like live shows on Twitch. And I really want these to be as live as possible. And so, like, I don't want to just hit play on the DAW and then, like, stand there with my arms crossed, nodding along to the stuff that I've written. And so, like, I need and again, if it says Roland on it, I'm obviously going to buy it. Yeah, and so like I'm designing all this stuff that we do with the live Twitch shows. It's going to be, you know, the Hydrasynth Deluxe, the Take 5, and then, you know, probably the System 8, and, you know, so I need to add one piece of gear. I need like a really good Roland, like modern Roland, you know, drum machine sequencer that I can load all of the drum sets from Roland Cloud onto, and get all the outs properly. Roland is kind of pissing me off on that one. Those guys, they could do better on that piece of hardware. So it's making me question whether I need it right now. So I can still set up my notebook and, you know, run all the drums off of off of Ableton with, you know, my push. I can do that, and that'll be acceptable. But for third floor, I am going to need a better audio interface to act as our mixer. Or I'm going to need an analog mixer and throw that in front of my like spare audio interface, and then that'll go into the broadcast machine, and the broadcast machine will pump it out over Twitch. So it's like I don't need like a lot of extra gear to make third floor shows work. Just like a couple of things, just to bridge us into Twitch land. You know, and that's doing something that I can't currently do. So, you know, that makes it more acceptable. Also, since we're going to be doing live shows, suddenly I'm looking at like DMX lighting or any kind of lighting I can drive with, you know, MIDI. Because, you know, I don't want to be messing with fiddling buttons to make the lighting work while the show's going. I just pre-program that and have it happen.
Thank you, Ivan. Alex.
Well, first of all, Ivan, if 4 mono and 2 stereo inputs are okay with you, I can recommend the Flow 8 by Behringer. I know other Behringer projects aren't that good, but I'm really happy with that mixing desk, except for their update software, which didn't work on Mac, so I had to do it on a PC, but I think the hardware is really good. Especially for live, they have a live mode and it's really solid. It has an app which works with it, so if that's okay for you, the number of inputs, then I can heartily recommend it. And second of all, what I do is I have like all my manuals as PDF on my phone and on my tablet, and I just read them every now and then. And especially for the Blofeld from Waldorf, the synth has so many features. If I read the latter half of the manual, I forgot the first part. So it's like always a discovery. You have always new ideas. Unfortunately, it isn't really knobby, but it's a good way to stay motivated to try out new things on the gear I already have.
I want to talk about that in a minute, but first, thank you, Alex. I want to hear Mark's amazingness. Go.
Actually, I was gonna say, if I start a gear swap, I do have some cheap gear I really don't care about.
Cool. Thanks. My question is, of the gear you own, how deep do you know it? Like, how well do you know it? Like, where's he go?
That was actually my sort of only jumping off point on this. I kind of, somehow, when VSTs took over from hardware 20 years ago, like for the inspiration and the magnetism of the acquisition syndrome, it tapered off rapidly. Like, the joy of going into music stores to discover the latest stuff kind of disappeared, and it was like downloading demos was easy and quick, and nothing was really differentiated, and the 3D interfaces were attractive, but the unique value propositions and operational differences between the things were just so minimal. It was like, whatever, this stuff's all the same. And around that same time, I bought like a piano. I just went out and I got a CP70 because that thing had like an interface and tones and range and depth that I thought might be lifetime and unique and unobtainable by plugins and stuff. And that is one thing. The opposite of GAS is, I don't touch it enough, and instead of feeling like the pressure to buy stuff, I feel this pressure to like keep going over and figuring out new stuff to do with it, tuning it and playing it and learning how to be a pianist and articulation and tones and putting effects on it. I mean, acoustic electric is sort of the pinnacle of that depth. So the short answer after the long answer is I don't think I've touched it nearly enough to feel like I've deeply, gotten all I can out of it yet. There's instruments that do that, and this is one of them.
Alex, thank you, Resi. Alex, I'm after you. And this is important. I want to talk about this. Go.
So in terms of how well I knew everything, my first synthesizer, the Dark Energy, I think I know almost everything about it that can be known to man. Like, I think only Dieter Döpfner knows more about it than I.
Do you know where the arpeggiator is?
You have to turn it on via MIDI, and it's some MIDI command, program change, and then it turns on. But I don't think it has octave.
No, I don't think it does either. I want to know where the fucking bloody...
You have to add program change. I think it's somewhere in the menu.
I didn't get a menu. I'll have to look.
You can get it as a PDF online.
All right, I'll look for that.
So,
that just answered my question. Keep going. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
The second thing I bought ever, I think, was the MPC 1000, which I used to be very good at, but I sort of lost my my skills as I didn't use it for like 5 years or so. I think it's really deep, especially with the custom OSs. but I haven't like really dealt on it. But I'm like it too much to sell it. The Blofeld, I think I'm like above average. What in regards of depth, like I know some certain things that I think the average user doesn't use because they're too hidden and you need to read the manual to understand them. But there are like really hardcore cracks out there that like do stuff with the mathematical operations modulation in there that I just don't get and don't want to get into. But I think I understand it fairly well. The Octatrack, I think I'm like the average user, I understand it, and it's a machine that takes a lot of time to get into, so I think like I'm good middle field. I don't know everything because it has so many use cases that some use cases just don't apply to me. But I think I'm fairly quick on it. My FM synthesizer, I don't have nearly as depth as I know how FM synthesis works, but I sort of I'm not good at coming up with good sounds for it. I'm getting better, but could be better. Yeah, the Eurorack is so underused for me. And the drum machine, the model cycles, I think I also like everything I need to know I got out of it. And the old Korg 01W, I think I've done more with it than the average user because I just program it, and I may not be a good programmer for it, but I think most people didn't program it at all, so I'm like above stuff.
Good on you. This is really interesting because I don't know. Okay, I've been using Emaxes for 30 years. I got my first Emax in 1992. It's here. I still use it. There are several things that I have not done on the Emax, and I don't know why. You can control it with CV. Haven't done it. Other people have, and they say it's really smooth. It's fucking 1986. It's really smooth. I can get a lot out of an Emax, but there's things that I still haven't done. The Voyager, well, it doesn't matter, man. Like the Voyager, there's so many things in the Voyager I haven't fucking figured out yet. Haven't got to it. Like you, Alex, I got the manual right there, and I like flipping through it, man. I love flipping through the K2000 and the Emax's manuals as well. The Prophet, I've kind of got into it, but there's a whole bunch of shit I haven't done on it. The Emulator 4, I haven't touched it. Like playing samples, pulling them in, basically doing stuff. Haven't touched it. I can look around this room and go, and that's the thing is that I don't want a synth that's got a whole bunch of whiz bang on it because I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to use the thing, and it's, you know, there's a guy named Raoul, and he does like dope for reviews, and he, you know, my advice is look at, if you've got a dope for piece of gear, see what that guy does. And it's like, wow, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know a triangle could sound that good. It's really inspiring watching someone do something with gear you already have, and suddenly it's a new piece of gear. And obviously the overarching importance here is that it's not just about, oh, it's a new piece of gear and you're using it. It's you're exercising a part of your brain to do some new music, to create new music with. You know, look at, instead of looking at gear, look at how other people write music. Look at people who start with sounds or people who start with chords. Don't worry about the gear they're using. We're trying to get away from that. Be inspired by that and look at what you have as a unique tool set. Because, man, some of the greatest albums in electronic music was made with stuff that, well, 20 years ago it was thought as junk. Now it's extremely collectible. But, you know, my point is it's not. Dude, the amount of stuff, the whole first Prodigy album was done with a W30, a Roland W30 sampler. And that Everybody Is in the Place is still monumental out, like EP. It's insane. so much stuff was just done with an Emacs. So much stuff was just done with a rudimentary piece of gear. And thank you for the Dark Energy Manual. Oh, look, page 21. So there's some thoughts, and I've run out of... And Razzie, I love your wisdom. Go.
I'm looking around me trying to put into perspective some of the things you're saying. It came to mind that there's a little bit of... Maybe there's a watershed between gear that you could get everything out of and kind of figure it all out, and then gear that maybe because it's got software expansion or some sort of system updates that continue to evolve that you maybe can't get everything out of and be done with. But maybe somebody can jump in and comment on if there's some truth to that. But I'm looking at like things that I have had for 30 years that I've plugged in maybe in the past couple of years and been like, there's no reason to use this anymore. The S950 definitely has a sound, but as a sampler, using a 2-line interface with a single data wheel, just it doesn't really inspire me anymore, and I haven't fired it up and done anything with it. And, my ESQM, I know all the waveforms. I know you can, use 3 of them at a time, but there isn't like a lot of cross modulation that happens that gives you surprises. It's like it's a rompler. It's got static waveforms, and I think maybe something that's got a little more complexity to it, like a PPG wave or a Korg wave station, transcends that with surprises. But then there's like some reverbs and outboard gear, and then I look at like something that's designed like the Pro 1, and Alex, like you were saying, having mastered or understand or being able to quickly dial in whatever you want on it because you know what the things do and how everything interacts and which knobs do what and what you can patch and cause surprises with, like that one I still reach for and use. I mean, it's definitely been deprecated for ease of use and speed and variety, but it does its thing and it still delights, and it makes, it's got its own randomness in it and its own inspiration. So that one, as compared with some of the other older stuff, still has life, and some of the other ones don't. And I'm not exactly sure what that difference is, but there's something there.
Can I just... Oh, no. Alex, go.
So what I figured out for myself is that I work better if I just focus on one box. That doesn't really apply to just standalone synthesizers, but if it has like patterns, I think I get the best results if I just focus on one box. And if I need some other gear, I just sequence it, record it, sample it, and put it in the same box. So when I turn it on, like maybe a month later or 2 years later, I don't need to figure out which patch it was and my routing and so on. I just can start right away. I think that helps me a lot, and also it helps with gas because you just focus on this one thing and you can't buy more. You just have to either learn more or be creative or sample something new. That's the one thing. I want to say something else, but I forgot, so.
I will say, thank you both. I will say, when you've got an ESQ1 and a fucking 950, whenever I'm in a rut, I will actively look for music that used a piece of gear that I have. Like, I'm on one hell of an early 90s industrial bender right now because it's all Emacs. It's, well, I mean, obviously, there's 950 and da-da-da-da-da in there as well. That was for you, Monk. And I will listen to it and go, wow, I really should get into lower samples and da-da-da-da, and fucking Skinny Puppy, because it's like all of that was done on that thing. And Resi, I'm just thinking that, if you ever look at that gear and go, I want to use the shit out of that, find music that used it and just get inspired. Say, fuck, I own that gear. And because, like, man, the 950, people are rediscovering the magic of the 950, and the ESQ, dude, like, that thing, come on, it's bloody amazing.
ESQM is, it's a beautiful synthesizer. It's got analog filters. There's a CV input. You can do some cool stuff. And I keep it around because of that. But you know, like I haven't found that spark that was like, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to do with it. I mean, honestly, it was my first 3 oscillator synth that you could do portamento with an analog filter over it. So it's like wee wee. So it was my thing with it. So that and the you know, some of the more aggressive clunky bass. It's like slap bass samples that are in it that aren't quite slap bass. You know, it's got some impact. But I still, you know, focus shifts, and it's like, okay, there's synthesizers that don't quite sound like that, but I'm actually already loaded up in my DAW, and it's like, do I really want to patch this in? But I did go through exactly what you're talking about a few months ago, and I was like, I don't know, maybe it was a Frontline Assembly first album, third album kind of thing. And I heard a bass line that was definitely generated on ESQM, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try this. I feel you.
I just got to reminisce for a moment. You know, music smells for me. Smell and music is a thing. When I was in university, I had a friend named Dave, and he had an ESQ1. And he fucking got the best sounds out of that thing. Actually, there was a couple of guys with ESQ1s, but I remember Dave's place had a smell because he lived in the university dorms. They had a smell, kind of like Dorito and ballsack. And every time somebody even says ESQ1, even I see it, I can smell that again. My mate Damien from Lux Voltaire, fucking pioneer of Australian industrial music. I think he had a 950 at one point. And Damien used to, because Damien's vegetarian, he used to have this vitamin B drink, and it had a smell to it. Just the drinks had this smell. And every time I see a fucking Akai, it's that smell. And here's something else really interesting is that, just really quickly. So there was a shop in Brisbane called Parlings, and Parlings sold synthesizers. And when I was like 14, 15, every time we'd go to Brisbane, which is like once every 6 months, I would go to Parlings. And my heart rate would go up. I was so overwhelmingly excited to go in there. And you'd walk down the stairs, and the smell of this place, it smelled like packaging, and it smelled like Keyboard Magazine. You know, Keyboard Magazine's got that smell. So every time I have a Keyboard Magazine, I smell it, and it's like, I have to make music right. Yes! It's just this trigger. And I remember walking into Parlings, and there was like Jupiter 8, DX1, Emulator 2, ESQs, Emacs. And the first time I saw an Emacs was in Parlings, and it was this weird, beautiful, beautiful grey thing that looked like 80s colors in Miami Vice, and the buttons were this big. And it was like the most beautiful. It was love at first sight. And then the guy pulled out a disc, and I'd never seen a small disc before, except in word processing. And it's like, wow, you can use this on a sampler? Wow. And then and that became a trigger for me as well.
You're triggering like the most intense sense memories of the piles of used gear in the basement of Daddy's Junkie Music here in Boston, and you know, like going in there and being like, I could almost afford this. The Akai S16 or whatever it was that took the quick discs instead of full size floppies and a little angled thing. Anyway, yeah. Now I just wanted to jump in on the topic of the synth shops. Like the pinnacle of that was I made the pilgrimage to 5G in Harajuku in Tokyo, and you know, obviously I had the camera out and I'm just looking at stuff and like, you know, System 100s and Mellotrons and, you know, Moog modules for days and minis and stuff, and it's like, this is insane, this collection, but it's a museum, and I like didn't buy anything. I can't afford any of this stuff, and it's beautiful and gorgeous, but alas, like, what am I really doing here? Am I ogling? I'm not, you know. Anyway, please continue.
And another one as well was when I was in Lismore, they had a music shop, secondhand, like, who gives a shit music shop, and like the shit that was in that music shop, I'm not going to talk about, and the prices they were in 1990, I'm not going to talk about, and the fact that no one gave a fuck, including myself, you know, I'm not going to like the amount of times somebody said, "Do you want a fucking Juno 106 for $200?" I went, "No." You don't want to know what I got my Jupiter 8s for, but that doesn't matter. But the thing about this shop is that because Lismore floods, and Lismore is tragically flooding again now, like hardcore, everything in the low-lying areas had a kind of that danky, it flooded here 6 months ago smell to it. And this music shop had that very slight dank smell. And it's funny that whenever I smell that specific smell, which is dank, fresh carpets and a paint job, and you tell they've tried to mask it, I just go, synthesizers. When I was at university, and I've mentioned this before, they had every single keyboard magazine from 1976, when it was electronic music projects, through to that moment in the 90s. And I would go through them and I'd be smelling them. And this was driving my mind wild. And it's I've got friends who send me keyboard magazines and they go, "Here, smell this." And it does the job. It's really interesting that as soon as I smell that, it's like, I have to make music now. I have to. That part of me that was 14, 16, 20, that was just going heart palpitations about creating sound. That's still in there. And I actually think that gear acquisition syndrome is tapping into that, but it's misdirected. That's my theory, is that power and that look, man, I'm going to say it, it's almost a sexual energy. I wasn't chasing chicks as a kid, or guys or girls. I was chasing fucking synthesizers. Was that too much information? I don't know. Ivan, help me?
Okay, so, you know, the store experience, I was kind of lucky back, you know, when I was younger. Craft Keyboard had an actual storefront here in Milwaukee, because Milwaukee's actually headquarters for Craft Keyboard. And those guys were freaking awesome, because they were okay with my broke ass self just kind of hanging out there for hours playing with gear without kicking me out. Kind of awesome. It's where I fell in love with the Alesis 16.
HR-16?
Yeah, the drum machine.
Yeah.
Because like it was so easy. Like, I walked up to it, looked at it for like 2 minutes, and was programming a sequence. And it sounded good. Especially at that time. Yes, the little flappy thing. You know,
I think you can still buy them like new. They're still on sale.
Alex, shut up! Gas, Alex, gas!
Kraft was amazing for their willingness to put up with my broke ass self. So, you know, now that I'm buying hardware, I have thrown them some money because they freaking deserve it. And then I was also lucky at the time because, you know, like...
Can I interrupt you really quickly? Vince, right now, that is a cover. No. Look down here. Look down. Look down. Vince, look down. Look down like that. You were looking down. That is a fucking cover right there. I just want to say that everything that's going on there is just perfect. Ivan, I'm sorry. Go back.
Okay, that's okay. And I was also lucky at the time because I was spending a lot of time in Chicago, and the place that was on the on Clark, on the other side of the alley, because the alley didn't go all the way through at that time, there was I can't remember the name, but like it was the music shop that everybody who was anybody shopped at. You know, like you could go in there and run into Al Jorgensen or Paul Barker or guys from Front 242. You could do, it was conceivable. And they had everything. So, and they were pretty cool with, you know, us broke ass kids showing up there and just messing with gear for a couple of way too longs before they would, you know, start kind of staring at you. And it was great, you know, because, you know, it's where I fell in love with the Korg M1. Could not, like, at the time, you know, I calculated how long it would take me to save up for a Korg M1, and it was measured in years. And I was like, well, okay, this will never happen. But and you know, last time I was in LA, I made the pilgrimage to Perfect Circuit. And Perfect Circuit is wonderful because you can walk in there, like they've got it. Yes, they've got it. Well,
And they're not assholes either.
Oh no, dude,
They're not
they were
jaded
awesome.
Guitar Center people.
No, they were awesome. You know, they were wildly interested in what you're doing, what's going on. How can they help you get there? Love them for it. And like Perfect Circuit's another one of those places I will, you know, if I'm buying gear, they're probably the first place I will look to see if I can get it from, just because they're so good at being awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, nothing quite like going in and doing the hands-on, because you know, when you're looking at pictures, you can't tell if the key bed sucks.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't tell you. YouTube reviews I don't trust because the algorithm.
And they're sponsored.
No, because they're always sponsored.
Oh, if you like it, you can keep it. Yeah. Or if you like it, you can get it at like 80% off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Alex. And then, Resi, I want to go in after you.
So let me make it worse. I think the things that were the cheap analog polys from like yesteryear are now the early digital stuff from the 90s and late 80s, because I think that's now dirt cheap, and I think that will go up. I think it will not go up like Jupiter 8 level, but I think there will be nostalgia in the next years. Also, like there's this guitar unit which was once like state of the art, so I like saw many bands touring with it, and I saw them now selling it for 200 euros when it was like $1,000 10 years ago. So it's always hard, but good luck, I don't have enough money to get it. And also I have a friend who is playing guitar for 20 years now, and he just has 2 guitars, 2 electric guitars, 1 acoustic guitar, 1 bass, 1 practice amp. That's it. Everything else he does on software, and he doesn't feel the need to get anything more, which feels crazy to me, because I think I would have gotten like 2 amps or so, and he just is content with what he has and focuses on the composition, and I envy him for that.
The meanest guitarist I've ever had has a Fender, like Fender Squire or something, like a stock standard Fender, a Rat. I think he has a DS1 and a Marshall combo, and he's had it for 30 years, and it doesn't matter. He just wants to fucking make music. And you know, it's like, oh well, if I go from Rat to DS1 and change the volumes, I totally get this new sound going on. And it's like, man, I really admire that, just to fucking make music. Sorry, Raz, go.
No, Carl and Alex, you both actually touched on the exact same conclusion I was getting to, and that I do know musicians who can focus on the pursuit of musicianship in the same way that some of us focus on the acquisition of gear for life. And it's just like, I need new scales. I need to know every, position on the fingerboard for, in every key for this particular lick and this scale. So it's just like a different mindset, and it's a obsessive drive with the same kind of rewards of getting new things, but they exist. These freaks.
I know. Well, Peter Gabriel, a Rode piano, a Prophet 5, and a CMI, and a Fairlight. Yeah. It's like, and still, Fairlights are embarrassingly obsolete now. But it's still a fucking Fairlight. It's still a fucking Prophet 5. It's still a fucking Rode. Maybe not the Rodes are obsolete. Rodes are Rodes. But it's like, he will sit down and write. And I just, God, I admire that so much. Like, to focus on music. Remember that I did want to talk about the whole engine behind gear. You know, it's the industry that makes musical instruments has tailored itself to feeding addiction. And it's the same with Makita. It's the same with, drills and stuff. It's the same thing. Home Depot are full of people who have gear acquisition syndrome. Oh, I need that bolt. I need that whatever. Are they going to use it? Probably not. Or probably a little bit. But, musical instruments are increasingly geared towards your addiction. That's why you get an email all the time from Reverb. It's so hard to, I don't watch videos about a piece of gear because I'll get, I want that piece of gear. What's it like? When I get to the end of it, yes, I want that piece of gear. I've never seen a review that goes, this is a piece of gear that's crap. Don't touch it. Actually, I have. But that's the thing, is that finding like a real reliable source that you can talk to and trust, it's just, I don't know, blah. Alex, go.
To be fair, I think I've never really come across a synthesizer that I really hated. I hated one MIDI keyboard, which was not really good, but other than that, every synthesizer, of course I like some more than others, but I think even with like a crappy Casio keyboard, you can still like find something of value in it. At least I can. And also I think what people forget is how much difference EQing can make. Maybe creative filtering and so on. So I think that's also something to look into if you try to aim for a different sound.
I want to follow up on this. What piece of gear have you got and you hated it? I want to know. But first, here's Ivan. I want to go first.
Yeah. I more or less stopped buying gear more or less last.
No, you didn't. You fucking liar.
Yeah, I stopped buying big gear. But don't look behind me. Definitely don't look behind me. But since I've really tailed off the gear.
Vince. It's another fantastic album cover going on there. Sorry, Alex. I'm sorry, Ivan. Go.
But since last spring, I've really been focusing on music theory and composition, because getting better at those has turned out to be better than buying gear. It's kind of amazing. I suck less. I'm able to use the gear I've got way better than I was, a year ago. Made a gigantic difference, and I'm super pleased.
Awesome. Thank you. Vince, sincerely, the lighting and everything else, someone back me up here, and where you are in the frame, it looks amazing, because I was just looking at it going, you could have the text there, and it's just you looking like a badass. It's a really
Somebody just screenshot it and send it to me.
Oh, you don't.
I'm busy right now.
If I
can't
do
take a
it, it's
picture
going
of
to be
while I'm
poo.
doing it.
It's going to be rubbish. It's going to be super low quality. But it's just, I'm letting you know, it's really good. Alex, you should try this. Maybe the problem is we need less light.
I should just set my camera up and take a picture at some point later.
Razzie took a photo. Actually, what you need to do is take a photo. When you're moody again, I'm going to take a photo, with a phone, so I'm getting the pixels and everything. Yeah. So I'm going to be snapping you. If I tell you to be still, you don't move. So I had a Korg wave station, AD. I hated it. I fucking hated it. And it's funny that Lux and myself bought one at roughly the same time, and we were in a band and we had two Korg wave station ABs, and everybody was super impressed. But I couldn't stand that thing. I didn't like it because it was a Rompler. I didn't like it because the filter, if there even was one, sucked. The noise level was terrible. It was clunky. There were a couple of pads on it that were fantastic, but fucking, you know, everything Korg did at that stage was, oh, here's the universe pad. You know? I just didn't... I just went, well, that was $2,500 I'm never getting back. But also a Casio CZ3000. It was my first synth, and I spent 18 months saving up for it, and I didn't know any better, and I could have bought a fucking Juno 106, but I didn't, for the same amount of money. It was crap. There's nothing you can do with it. It's shit. So I don't want people saying, but what about Casio? Throw it in the bin. It's crap. It's fucking crap. The stuff they did later, like, and then I got a VZ1M. I hate it. I spent so much time fucking programming that thing, and it was rubbish. The FZ1 sampler was amazing, but Casio's brought out a whole bunch of new stuff. That Lux Voltaire, he's got one of their main things, and he says it's fucking incredible. And another one is, oh no, it's the only dope thing that I can't fucking stand is the 120 filter. The A120, their stock standard filter. Hate it. Everything else by Dopa, amazing. Fucking amazing. But the 120, like, it's supposed to be the Moog filter, I could not get that thing to thump at all. Like, I just couldn't get it to rock. I can blow a hole in a wall with their diode filter, with the CEM filter. You can't really with a Wasp, but that's not what a Wasp is all about. But for some reason, man, I think there was something else I had as well. No, that's it. There you go. Alex, your hand. Go.
So, I think, where do I start? I think on the Doppler filter, it was probably one of Dieter's first ones that he ever did, if I'm not wrong. But anyway, I also wanted to say, as much as I love this Rambler, it's really sucks to program. Like, the scaling sometimes is weird. You always run into aliasing problems. Like, I mean, like, it's today it's almost romantic, but if the aliasing is almost louder than the rest of the sound, it really sucks. But I still love it because sometimes it's just nice to play something without thinking about sound design, and also you can get, at least I can sometimes get somewhat interesting sounds out of this that I can't get out of modern gear because it's like so primitive and they had to make so much with so little processing power that there's some something special about it. But I agree that it sucks to program, and sometimes the sounds are also quite cheesy, but I think it's nice in combination with other stuff. But yeah, it sucks to program.
And the sound of the buttons suck, and the feel of the buttons suck.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the keyboard is nice.
And it does have those massive early 90s Korg sounds. Pa. You know those huge pads that go rika 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 rika. Obviously, I'm the only person here that's excited about that. Razzie, save me.
I'm trying to think of things that I actively hated, and in defense of the VZ1, I got one, and it made that one FM sound, you know, like
Hardwire.
Yeah, the default.
Did you have the keyboard, or did you have the
rack one?
Yeah,
but that cute little display and everything, the 120 pixel LCD on the front, it had its charms, and I thought it would be fun to have. I sampled the one sound, you know, I think I probably used it on a song and then sold it, so that's pretty close to hate. I also did not enjoy sequential 6-track CEM chips. You'd figure it would be great, you know, it's got some of the Prophet kind of sound, and I'm a sequential guy and everything, but I think it's like got a 1-digit 7-segment LED display and a single knob to do the editing, and you have to type a 3-character thing on a keypad to switch parameters to edit. It was just like nowheres for that. I don't know if I even managed to use that on a song ever, but I had it for a while and got rid of it. And the one bad, shouldn't have ever bought it piece of gear that I had was one of my very first guitars. And this was something my parents bought me, probably even, that kind of youth. Go take lessons kind of guitar. Ovation made these, plastic shell round back guitars because technology, and the smaller budget line of Ovation is Applause, and they had these, not only the plastic back, wood top, but plastic back and extruded aluminum fingerboard with foam composite, material for the neck that it was bonded to, and the frets weren't dressed at all. They were just stamped into or extruded into this aluminum plate, so the integral frets and neck and nut, they hurt and they're uncomfortable and things cold to the touch because it's aluminum. The neck eventually snapped, possibly because I smashed it. That was not a good piece of kit. That was a bad guitar.
I also had a 6-track and I got rid of it because same reasons. And it's funny, I got rid of it within 2 weeks. And I thought, it's so fantastic. It's a 6-track.
Yeah,
and
6 oscillators. Woo.
Yeah, and it was like, no, this thing sucks. It was I think it wasn't a split 8. I'm pretty sure it was a 6-track. But it was and it was it was the one with no knobs or just one data entry slider.
Single dial.
Yeah. And I was so excited. It had that keyboard smell that I love, but it was a piece of poo. And a funny thing about the VZ1 is that I did build this pad sound that was really beautiful because I thought, it's going to be a CZ1, but there's all these things I can do with it. It's going to be great. And it wasn't. The VZ1 had this MIDI controller 15 would allow you to control, to actively control stuff. So you could make shit raw. Excuse me.
I was also a little resentful that people were calling vector synthesis a style of synthesis as opposed to just crossfading between tones, timbres on a
but it was
FM
it was multi-timbral, and that was great, and it didn't respond to controller 7 if I recall correctly. But the funny thing is that controller 15, I had that 30 years ago. Controller 15, I now set up controller 15 to be my controlling thing still. So the Kurzweil is set up that the main controller is 15. The Dope for stuff is all set up that controller 15 is the main controller. I don't know why that is. There you go. All habits die hard. Alex, speak to me.
Sometimes the synthesizer might be a good synthesizer, but just not the right thing for you, because I think people have different requirements for their synthesizers. I want unique sounds, but I think there are plenty of people who just want a synthesizer that does a standard analog filter envelope bass sound, but with as much oomph as possible, and that's not really what I'm looking for. So I think you have to look out for that. And then I had a second point which I forgot, so I will probably say that later.
Okay, well thank you. I have nothing else to contribute to this. I probably do. If somebody else has a question or they want to add to this, I see hands. Alex, is your hand still up?
Yeah, maybe one thing to get more out of your gear is also to modulate it with MIDI CC or CV, or maybe your hands while you record.
Yeah. Can't do that on Casio, but couldn't do fucking anything with Casio. And even if you change the parameters while you're working with it, it goes...
Zipper noise.
I hate it. I fucking hate it. And I thought, this is a synthesizer. I'm so happy. Those
Time to start the MIDI CC versus CV control argument right now.
It didn't have
there's no
either.
argument.
Right. But apparently, if your synthesizer has a pedal input, an expression pedal input, that's a CV. That is a control voltage. So you can control your... Does anybody have an ASR 10? I know Rob's got an ASR 10. You can control the sample time, the actual sample start point, and the loop point, and the end point via the expression pedal. So you can be sending something sound, drum loop, something, control voltage, and it can be jumping through the sample. Fucking madness. Ivan.
Okay, I do have memory of one piece of bad gear. Everything I've got now I'm really happy with. But back my first bass, I can't even remember who made it. It was such junk. It was not even funny. Like, you could not get it intoned well enough to not sound like a buzzsaw. And, you know, like, it would go out of tuning because, you know, like it got slightly warmer in the afternoon. You know, and then, you know, now it's the evening and it's cooled off again. Yeah, now it's completely out of tune. That you know, it was so lousy. I so don't miss it. It was such junk.
Thank you. Jean-Michel Jarre used a CZ5000 on Rendezvous. And I've always wondered where, because it could make a really strong, buzzy string sound. But I don't think that in Rendezvous is a CZ5000. I think that's 10 million things stacked. Alex.
I just realized another thing I have resentment for, which is this one. And not because it sounds bad, but because it's so hard to integrate with anything else. Like, it doesn't have a MIDI input, and it's so frustrating because the raw sounds are quite nice. Like, they're super lo-fi, but they have a certain something, and the only thing I've got left is to just sample it and then... Yes, please.
Okay, do you know that thing you can sync it to trig? To clock? And it's
yes.
a really simple thing. All you need, I think, is a 3-point, like a
TRS MIDI.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
that's what I was
it
gonna.
TRS plus one or something? And one of them is the clock.
TRRS.
Yeah.
I was just not articulating.
All right. Yes. And I think one of them's start and one of them's clock. I had one of them. There's a whole bunch of kafuckery to get it to work, but you can do it, and you can sit them in your modular as well. And it's also there's hacks you can do to pull individual sounds out as well, I think. It's got solder points on the back.
It does, but I think they're more for testing.
Test
Research.
away.
Research
Do
this
some
shit.
testing.
This is like the first one of them. And I wish I could just play it with MIDI, but I can't.
You can do it with trig, and I think it's quarter note pulse as well. It's not like 2448 PPQ. It's quarter note, so it's the same as the Korg. It's looking for a pulse per quarter to sync to. I recall, I think, but
yeah, but that's not really what I wanted to do, because I think I could just tap in the same tempo, and it wouldn't be exactly the same, but it would be enough for me. No, I just wish I could play more than the 60 notes it can play. It's just
it's really.
I wanted. Yeah, sorry.
It's yours.
Just want to do more with it, and it's frustrating that I can't.
It's funny how you get a piece of gear sometimes and you go, oh, I want it to work. I want it to do this thing. I'm not going to give up. And then one day you just go, it's crap.
No, I originally bought it as a souvenir, so I'm not that salty about it, but it feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Because it sounds good. It really does.
Have you ever distorted it?
I've recorded it onto tape and it sounded great, because it's like really brittle and the tape smooths it out a bit if you set the bias correctly. And so I think I will need to record it in tape and then sample it. That would be the best thing. But I just wish I could play it with my... I just wish I could sequence the
And I recall it's also got a swing thing, a groove thing in it as well. Because the groove stays with, if you send it, like, if you sync it to your system with click, you can keep that groove going. My advice is to distort the shit out of it. Run it through a pedal or something. Razzie speak.
Just before you go off the topic, I couldn't call up and recall where I saw it, but there is on the TRRS, I thought, either a mod or a simple way to do full note on-off control on some of the pocket operators, but I'm gonna...
Unfortunately not on mine. This is really the first generation. And
What?
Got it.
Which one is it?
it's the factory.
Ah.
I originally wanted to get the drum machine one, but I actually grabbed the wrong one, so I got the factory, which is like a melodic.
But it's got beats on it, right?
Yeah, but just some monophonic. It has like one melodic voice and one monophonic sample beats thing where you can just control the pitch and the volume of several samples. But
Cool.
it's like just a afterthought, so you have something else to go with it.
Awesome. Okay, we've reached that lull in the conversation. We need to pick this conversation up now. Raz, go.
On the topic of trading gear, which came up a long time ago now, I think I lost my skills with selling stuff. I used to be able to do local, Craigslist and shit like that, but like I have a couple of things that are sitting in large boxes that are super heavy. And does anybody ship that stuff like in their retail boxes or have experience in doing like packaging for stuff that you sold that's like about $1,000 worth of gear? Maybe it's a display or a synth or something like that. Like anybody sold anything large like that and shipped recently? Experiences?
I have. Alex, if you have, you're welcome to answer this one.
There is a YouTube channel called Synthi-100, and they have like I think one video where they show how they ship their keyboards, and I thought it was really comprehensive. And for myself, I think everything which is like over a certain size I just did with local pickup. Yeah, I shipped one monitor, but it was in such a bad shape that I didn't care, and somehow it got in there in one piece, but it was a
The
gift.
somehow is the key.
Right.
I've only
Yeah,
had
right.
one bad experience shipping something and they claimed it arrived broken, and when they got it back they had swapped a part, so they just stole the part that they needed from my thing and sent it back and said it was damaged. So I'm sort of like a little bit bitten on that, but
I heard you need to make some photos and videos if it's like more expensive, but I don't know how it is legally in the United States.
If you take it to UPS and you talk to them about, okay, well, here's a box, I want you to ship it, put it inside another box and put packaging in it, they will take care of it. There's also Pack and Ship. They do the same thing as well, and you just build that into the price, the shipping price, which is, you'll notice shipping prices on certain things on Reverb, etc., have got more expensive for larger options because people are just taking them to pack and send, because shipping a K2000 is a pain in the cock. Sorry, am I allowed to say that? I don't know, I just did. Apologies to anybody with a K2000. Yeah, so they'll do all that for you. And it's really funny that that's the big thing, the big pain in the bottom is shipping the fucker. Ivan?
So, my A110 dope for VCO, I got that from you.
Yes. Am I in
Yeah.
trouble?
You shipped it great. It works wonderfully. I'm
Thank
happy
you.
with it.
My one hang up with the A110s is they sound beautiful, but they've got a reliable range of about 2.5, 3 octaves. Whereas they put out
Yeah.
they put out some other ones, and it's funny that I was really utilizing that. Because you can say the higher it goes, it's going to start going out of tune with the other oscillators, and you get something really cool going on.
Occasionally you do. Sometimes no.
Yeah.
But when it's on, it is
Yeah.
on.
Because mostly, you only need like an octave that way and an octave that way, normally.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of their other oscillators are really tight. They're tight. I thought I saw a hand. I'm glad.
Oh,
thank you.
also, when I got my my Soviet keyboard, that got shipped over from Kiev. And
You got a Vostok?
No, I've got a not a Vostok, not a Polyvox. I've got a starts with an Alita monosynth from like the early '80s, and it is glorious and wonderful and crazy and unforgiving and built out of like tank steel, and you know, you could use it to invade a smaller, lower tech country. You know,
Thanks, Ivan.
And then lose, by the way. But I love it because it is so capable of just being nutty in a fun.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Oh, they're almost impossible to find now.
Yeah,
I know. I just wanted to add that nothing triggers my GAS like a Cyrillic silkscreen on the front and cryptic labels.
And it's loaded with that and big chunky plastic sliders and the keypad could be less ass-like, but it doesn't the MIDI on it does not work, and I need to find somebody that can fix that. But yeah, they managed to ship it here, and you know, it came mostly rolled up in, you know, Ukrainian newspaper.
excellent.
But it was double boxed and the bubble wrap. They really took care to make sure that it arrived here in one piece. And thankfully, like, I trust DHL more to get things in one piece to you than FedEx or UPS these days, because FedEx is good at delivering things to the wrong address and then claiming that they delivered it to you because you quote unquote signed for it. And UPS is good at taking their sweet, sweet time.
Yes.
Whereas DHL, all of the papers are in order.
Yeah. I want to talk about filters after Alex, though.
Yeah, I wish DHL also would pay their workers fair. Anyway, what I wanted to say? Yeah, sometimes even not professional gear can be interesting if you distort it and like often like the home keyboards also have a little MIDI and you can just modulate them in crazy ways, and maybe it sounds interesting. It's like it's a weird Rompler. I think sometimes if you can lend something or like maybe pick something up at a garage sale, you can get something interesting out of it and then sell it further. Maybe some gear are more like guests than long-time residents.
Thank you. Razzie, I'm going after you.
This is so unhealthy. All of you, shut up. But also, Alex, it just made me think of one of the previous close calls I had with GAS was just lab test equipment, like actual tone generators and different electrical, like, big iron, rack mountable and or mil spec kind of stuff. Has anybody gotten deep into that or shallow into that?
I know Seth has, but he's not here today.
I didn't really get into it, but I had access to one of those once.
Yeah, it's great if you want to make a tone that's like 100,000 K. Yeah.
A good thing is that sometimes I think things are just not worth it for me because there's so much upkeep. Like, I don't bother with vintage synthesizers that are expensive because I know if they go bad I can't fix them. And I think that also helps with gas, because even though Oberheim Matrix 12 sounds great, I just couldn't justify it because I couldn't take care of it. And to the lab equipment, in university I used different things for like either physics experiments or more interesting like neurological stuff. So there are like certain machinery to trigger nerves when you do experiments on them, how good they conduct and so on, and how their patterns are. And they're like little trigger sequencer. They just make pulses, and this was quite nice. I made one recording of it. It doesn't sound as great as a proper oscillator or a proper modular, but it's interesting to mess with. I also have like vegans maybe mute for a second. I have recordings from the nerve of a cockroach, like the electrical impulse, and I need to put that into my synthesizer, but I was too lazy in the last time. But it's really interesting. That's more interesting than the actual neurological trigger machine.
You should share that. Because Damage shared me, which I still have them somewhere. Recordings of his Soma. And they're bloody wonderful. Really, really interesting things. Like, you know, get a microphone, go outside, record something random. Process it a bit, put lots of reverb on it. Fuck that shit up. I was going to say something, but I don't think it's appropriate. I was going to talk about... Maybe it's not appropriate. I'm just going to say it. Look, so my thing is that I've got a Moog sound, I've got an ARP 2500 sound, I've got a Vostok sound, and I've got an EMS Synthi sound. So they're the main filters I have. And a sequential. And I don't... Like, I will not get anything else because I've got those areas covered, you know? And they're cheap. But we don't need that. I just don't want to open the gas bubble. I don't want to open the gas bubble and let the gas flow between all of us. It's like we're under the sheets in a big tuna and there's so much gas. Nothing. Save me, Raz.
Is Synthi-100 everybody's like ultimate destination here? Or...
Yeah, VCS 3. Okay. Oh no, the big 100.
I don't think. Yeah, like a full, installation.
Well,
got to get some movers and a tech to help you with it.
You know about the Colossus?
Is that the remake?
Yes, and it's really
yeah, but it sounds
good.
a bit different. It's just the layout. It's not the same sound. Which is
well,
great because the oscillators are way more stable.
Yeah, and the oh, here we go sucking, and it's only $20,000, and you can get it. You can get the whole thing to the US for about $21,000. I'm about $21,000 away from that right now. Actually, I'm about $30,000 away from that right now. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's I've heard it's really good because they're that fucking filter, man. Apparently, Analog Solutions is quite good at that filter. Like as far as the whole thing goes. But yeah, man, I knew a guy with a A100. Whole bunch of problems. A lot of spiders in it as well. A lot of spider webs in there. And cockroaches. But yeah, man, you need to watch Blake 7. You know about Blake 7, Resi? Blake 7 was a sci-fi from England in the late 70s, early 80s. It didn't have the budget. Oh my god. It didn't have the budget of Doctor Who, but the storyline is brilliant. And they're basically a bunch of bad guys who are going after the Earth people, the Earth Federation, who are mega bad guys. So everyone's bad, but they've got the fastest ship in the galaxy and they stole the most powerful computer. And they're on the run. And they're just blowing shit up and getting it wrong. But the whole soundtrack was done on a Synthi-100. And it's amazing. And there's all these documentaries about it. Like the shit they were doing with the vocoder, dude. Like alright, get this. So it wasn't Delia Darbage, but it was one of her proteges. She would get a glass with some water in it and a straw and slurp through the straw and record it and vocode it. And it was the best fucking sound. And they had to build a sound for every single door opening, every single bleep bloop, every single thing. And they had to fly, like, okay, in this pass we're doing all the bleep bloops. In this pass it's going to be all the door openings, because the doors always didn't open and close. It was it's so fucking inspiring. I'm inspired. My brain is inspired. And it's not just, I want a Synthi fucking A100. Where would I put it? Ivan, I don't even think one of them would fit in your bloody... And you'd never get it up the stairs. But it's so inspiring. So, and then watch Blake 7. Like, this was like British dystopian political as fuck because it was Thatcher. So everything was political, and they saw Star Wars and they went, we want to do this, but we can't. But the stories are brilliant, except episode 3 is just, season 3 is crap. Season 1, 2, and 4 are really good. So watch Blake 7, just for the fucking sounds, man. They're great. And as it goes on, you can hear different sound elements come in. You can hear the use of polysynths starting to come in. Because when they started it, I didn't think they had a Pro 5. Getting through it, they had a CS80. Fuck, it's good. Yeah, they didn't have the budget of Doctor Who. Oh my god, Tom Baker Doctor Who.
Yeah, the entire BBC Radiophonic Workshop.
Oh my god.
Put it in your ears.
I want fucking LA, Delaware, right here, right now. That's what I want. Yeah, so anyway, watch that shit and get inspired. Fucking watch that shit and get inspired. Exciting stuff. Alex, I see your hand. Go.
So what cured my guess for anything EMS was talking to somebody who actually owns an AKS Synthi, and he told me that he basically can't do anything melodic with it because it's just too unstable, and he just uses it for sampled percussion and special effects because it's just so unstable. So I thought, okay, this one's not for me. Also, I got the software version and I tried it out and I realized it doesn't have enough everything for me to be satisfying. Like I would need a second amplifier, maybe one more modulation oscillator. So I think that was it for me.
Yes. But that filter. And you can get the Dopefer version of that, the 102, or is it the 106? The 102. They're brand new, like $120. But you don't need it, because gas is bad. Yeah. But watch them use that shit. There's episode 1 of Blake 7. Thank you so much. I'm going to copy this one. Thank you, Diana. Boom! I'm telling you, man, Blake 7, it's amazing. And I go on Blake 7 benders. I just watch Blake 7. Where can I watch fucking Doctor Who Tom Baker? If anybody can tell me that, let me know. And don't say the BBC thing, because I don't have the BBC thing. Alex, I see your hand. Because I want the sound design, goddammit. That's a fucking CS80.
Yeah, speaking of gas, it's also interesting what I did when I was like 13, 14, when I had no gear, no idea what I was doing, and just freeware. Like I used Audacity and the tone generators and just drew waveforms, repeated them, filtered them without having any idea what I did. And then I had like this freeware software which was like poor man's MPC because it could put on every button of your computer keyboard a wave file. And I just triggered that with my hands rhythmically and then recorded the output of my PC with my crappy 30 euro MP3 player, and that was the music I made. So I think it's sometimes great to remember those times and maybe think, what can I do without spending money? What can I do to think outside of the box?
That's really interesting because the more gear you get, the more it pushes you into that creative box. Like, you know, I'll talk about that in a minute after Vince. Go. Oh, Vince, you muted. You're still muted.
There we go. Okay,
Bam.
I'm good. I clicked on it. It just didn't do anything for a minute. I believe the only place to find Doctor Who is HBO Max.
Yeah, but that's all the new stuff.
I'm not sure if they only have the new stuff. They may have the old stuff too.
I will look into that. The last season of Doctor Who is mind-blowing, of Tom Baker. Also, Diana, I see you're in there. Can you do me a favor and look for on YouTube there's an interview about the Blake 7 soundtrack using a Synthi, and it will make you so. And I want to put that. I want to tell the whole world about that. Yeah, the Tom Baker stuff, man. Yeah, also the sound design of that is just beautiful. Thank you, and also the guy who was after that. The sound design was better, but that was getting into DX7 territory, and that's when everything just went crap. And if you go before Tom Baker, isn't it amazing how Tom Baker was Doctor Who during the golden age of synthesis? Because if you go too far that way, was it John Petrie? It was all like, VCS3, and that's kind of all they had. But when you go after that, it's all fucking DX7 as, let's get modern. But Tom Baker, man. Tom fucking Baker. He is the forgotten synth hero. Thank you, Diana, you're the best. Because the last season of Doctor Who had the one with the vampires. And that was great. The sounds in that one was great. They had the lions, the trans-dimensional time lion people things. Which, what the fuck was that about? I don't know. But the sound was great. And they had Romana. She was a babe. And then Adric, the maths guy, with the Cybermen. Dude, fantastic. And it's interesting. I was doing research into the Battlestar Galactica Cylon sound and how they achieve that, because it's the greatest vocoder ever. And that's a fucking EMS vocoder. 3,000 or 5,000, I don't remember. But they went through all of these steps to actually make that tone. They didn't just go, stick it in, and there's the vocoder. They treated everything, they drenched it in tape, they ran it through, and then they got that sound, which is so ballsy. Like, it's so lush. God, you can't get that fucking sound. It's so lush. Anyway, there you go. Anybody?
Hollywood sound guys, go way crazier than we will.
Yeah. But let's go crazy there with them. Like, it took them, isn't it? They took them like 2 days to create the sound of each sound of the Terminator walking or RoboCop or something. We're fucking industrial music. That's what we do. We spend way too much time on sound and create something. Thank you, Diana. I think that's just like the band stuff. Is that like the synthesizer shit? Great stuff. I will post that. We need to spend more time on sound design. Because that's from Diana. Thank you, Diana. Like, that's fucking what industrial music is about. Doesn't matter if you're wearing a guitar or a fucking modular or Moog. Doesn't matter. Or a microphone. We need to fuck around with sound more. We need to say, okay, well, this song is just a beat fucking skinny puppy, man. This song's just a beat and a bass line and someone growling over it. Lace it with horror music, with horror sound effects. Good on you, Alex. That's what we have to fucking do. We've got to get back to the roots. Because I'm telling you, man, I'm just not inspired. I go to a club and I go, it's really good to dance to, but it doesn't give me nightmares. I'm in this fucking scene because I want nightmares. I want Halloween every day. That was part of the agreement. That was the contract. I will dress like a spooky freak. I want to listen to spooky freak music. And, maybe I'm letting the team down a bit here. Everybody on the Patreon, I hope you like what I put out this month, by the way. Resi, go. That's your ears only. Resi, go.
Stating for the record, Alchemists of Sound from 2003 is the BBC radiophonic doc that I am recalling. And if it's the one that I'm recalling, I think it is, it's pretty super. And it gives first primary source accounts and then some commentary from the usual British electronic musicians. But get your Delia Derbyshire fix.
Yeah.
Listen to Zoo. It's a banger.
All right, I'm there. I'm in it. And I think it was like a hidden feature on the Blake 7 DVDs that came out. Mark.
I had them psyched for that.
It's bloody awesome, Mark.
Okay, so I found out where you can watch old Doctor Who, but how much do you hate Amazon?
With a lot of passion.
Okay, well, Amazon has a BritBox subscription, and that lets you watch all the old Doctor Who.
Interesting. Maybe it could be on Tubi, and Canopy as well, maybe. I'll look there. Fuck 'em.
But you're looking for season 12 is when Tom Baker starts.
Season 12. That's good intel. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, good stuff. All right, somebody say something to me. Amazing and inspiring. Go.
Well, the danceable thing that got me goosebumps is maybe a bit nerdy, but from the soundtrack of the anime Devilman Crybaby. The title track is called Man Human by the artist Denki Groove. And I don't know, it gives me like this visceral goosebumps feeling, and I think it's really great. Maybe I can post it in chat.
Thank you. Please do that. I'm grateful. Thank you. Good. Yeah, I mean, like, and this gives us to a fun point where get a microphone and record something weird. Like, you got a song going, treat it like it's Foley. Set up something on a table or on the floor, a few bits of metal or something, and you're listening to the song and you go, okay, well, after I say that bit, I'm going to scrape this. And you record a soundtrack for verses. Don't worry about the choruses. Make them big and loud and proud. And as you go, you build this stuff up and you put reverb on it or reverse it or something. Have creative fun, and then you put it in your door. You might clean it up a bit and there. Do something great. Raz?
This is kind of far outside of music and even cinema sound design, but have any of you watched Diego Stocco's videos? He was doing them maybe 5-10 years ago. Kind of inspirational, but like these just like he'd do these perspective shifts, like making sand sound very large, or making water sound like glass, like kind of theme-based things. And his sounds were pristine and beautiful and like alarmingly clear in some cases, but is an interesting like sort of alternate angle on this sound design stuff. I'm not sure if he's active still, probably is, but I'll throw a link in.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That sounds really great. Ivan, and thank you. Ivan, I see your hand.
So, inspiration-wise, this week I listened through the audiobook for Season of the Witch, How the Occult Saved Rock and Roll, speaking of spooky things, by was it Peter Biebergall?
How Rock and Roll Saved the Occult. Thank you very much. In fact, I think if you're a musician, you should just get honorary, membership into the Church of Satan. Because where would those fuckers be without us? Come on. We have more black in our wardrobe than they do. We fucking do this, or we own this. Go on. Ivan, what were you saying?
It's a kind of a history, and it's a pretty academic. It's actually quite worth the listen.
All right. And thank you for posting that. I'm just going to grab that and post this everywhere in the world because everybody across everything could be interested in that. Thank you, Raz. We're getting close to the end of the world now. Oh, except Alex is here. Alex, you're the Omega.
Okay. Anyway, first of all, I listened to Diego Stocco, but I forgot almost everything he said. But for me, I think one of the best resources for sound design is just trying things out and maybe disassembling presets and see how they're made. And the other thing is, I made the decision for myself to not to look for answers everywhere and just try things out. I think that really helps this kind of shift in my perspective, because if I had a problem, I just would start Googling, and the uncertainty was making me anxious. And I realized sometimes maybe no one has the right answer, and I just need to figure out stuff myself. Like especially like with the war, I was like watching so many opinions by generals and so on, and I think even they don't know what's happening, what's going really on. And just I try to accept that things are unknown and maybe there aren't perfect solutions, but I just need to try stuff, figure stuff out, and maybe to take the jump and see where I land.
Yeah. That's just like music, though, isn't it? I guess these are possibly closing thoughts. I think it's really important that you approach your music going, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing right now. In fact, one of the wonderful things about being a musician is every step you take into a song, nobody in the history of humankind has heard what you're doing. It's new. It is a new... this is cosmic creation. And I think it's really important to liberate your mind and your heart and your soul and everything. And if you don't know what the fuck is going on, then that's a strength. I was talking to somebody yesterday about, making music. You know, you should be in a band. And they go, I don't know anything about music. And I went, didn't stop B.B. King. Didn't stop 1,000 billion musicians who are doing better shit than I did. If you are lacking knowledge and something, invention is on your side. And if you have sheer willpower and determination and ideas, dude, you're going to make up rules. Or you're going to make up a process. You're going to make shit up. And that is so... that's magic, man. That's magic. So throw yourself in a position this week where you haven't got a fucking clue what you're doing. It's always about putting something on the floor with a microphone and recording things. I don't know why. Just a thing. Does anybody else have anything amazing they want to throw in? Or are we streaming to MTV TV? Anyone? Somebody take a photo of Vince right now just before he moved. I'm trying to take a photo, but I can't because I've got a reflection on my screen. The trick is don't try. Thank you, Razzie. Make sure you grab them right now. Razzie's putting them in the chat. I'm going to leave this open afterwards, and everybody's going to hang out and talk crazy things, and I still have to figure out how to turn my blaster beam into a fucking reverb unit. Thank you for joining us. Remember, MTV TV is bloody awesome. We are going to raid there very, very, very shortly. Because your new music is waiting for you now. This is every Saturday. So please join us again at this time and place next Saturday. And if you got a couple of bucks that you want to throw my way every month, Angelspit's Patreon. Because it's keeping this shit going, and I want to keep you going. And even if you're not on the Patreon, I'm still going to keep you going because everything's kind of difficult right now for everyone. We are now going to introduce you to a band that you've never heard of, but you're going to love, and that is on Twitch. We are going to MTV TV now. We are raiding now. And Diana, could you do another raid as well while we raid? We're doing our raid dance. Raiding. Yeah, we're doing a raid dance. You rock. See you next week. Bye. Bye.